swim your ocean till I forget to breathe. Put the lights down, crank up the stereo, deep sea, baby, that's where I wanna go. The waves roll, drown out the radio, take me down, way down to Mexico. To Mexico, take me down to Mexico. Take me down to Mexico.
Welcome back to the Minority Men Show. This is your girl Bree with Public, Anthony Cook, Blue, Mr. Jackson, and our special guest, Mr. Harris, as well. So this is our more segment. It's motivating others through real experiences, and this gives us the opportunity to bring people from the community who are actually making a big difference on other people's lives. So we have Mr. Dave Harris. He is originally from Brockton. He moved to Randolph, Massachusetts over 40 years ago and has been pretty involved through local organizations and just a really, grassroots activist in the community, and transformed it, and sounds like he had a pretty big impact on the community. So without further ado, Mr. Harris.
It's a pleasure to be here, and
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Chris, my buddy Chris here, told me what the great things you people are doing here with this station, and it's an honor for me to be here, really.
It's an honor for you to be here with us.
Really. So I just happen to be very fortunate to have had an opportunity to play a role in transforming a community from one that was completely hostile, racist, and exclusive to one of the most diverse communities in the entire Commonwealth over a period of 30, 40 years. And because when I first moved to the community, I had no intention of getting involved in anything like civil rights activities or community activism or anything. When I first moved to Randolph back in the 60s, the minority population was less than 1%. And you couldn't buy a house, you couldn't rent an apartment if you were a person of color, and it was just a complete hostile environment. I had never faced that type of environment, having come from a multicultural neighborhood where I grew up in Brockton. And when I tried to buy a house in Randolph, I found that I was being steered only to certain streets where people of color were shown houses, and that's an illegal practice called steering. And when I was subjected to that, out of the blue, I got a call from a gentleman who was involved in a fair housing group in Randolph, who was attempting to change the way this whole housing discrimination thing. And they had a house for me to look at in an area which they were trying to integrate. So I looked at it, immediately fell in love with it. The person agreed to sell it to me, and I still live there 40-some years later. And that really was what facilitated me getting involved in the whole Civil Rights movement, was my own personal experience. By having that experience and then joining this organization, which was called Randolph Fair Housing at the time, later became Randolph Fair Practices, I became a member of the housing subcommittee, then eventually became the chairman of the organization. And I led the organization for 35 years as we took action working with the MCAD and filing lawsuits and a lot of community activism to break down the housing discrimination. And once we broke down the housing discrimination, the doors kind of blew wide open, and people of color started moving into the community, And it's grown from a community of less than 1% people of color to today with over 60% of the community are made up of people of color. We speak something like 57 different languages in the community, and it's like a microcosm of the world itself in one small community of about 30,000 people. So it's just a very exciting place to be if you really want to be exposed to every ethnicity there is on this earth. It's there. I've also had the great fortune of having started a state agency, which from scratch, which is called the State Office of Minority Business Assistance, back in 1973, which was an agency. When I got there, I had to start it from very scratch, from the very beginning. I had to design the entire program, and the agency went on to become one of the most influential agencies of its type, addressing the need to try to grow minority businesses in the state by creating purchasing and procurement opportunities in the public sector. When I started out, the agency, the minority businesses were not really involved at all in opportunities of securing contracts with the state and even the federal government. And when we got involved and created the structure, we actually did the first set-aside program in the country for minority businesses. And then we went on to develop multitudes of programs with the federal government, the state government, and the agency exists still today. I was a director for about 13 years as a deputy commissioner in the Commerce Department. And during my tenure, we were able to develop over $2 billion worth of contracting opportunities for minority and disadvantaged businesses over that period of time. So the point I'm going to make is that we never know where we're going to end up and what fate has in store for us until it happens. And we never know what we're capable of doing until we actually are exposed to the opportunity to do it. Similar with when I got involved in Brockton and Randolph, I never had an intent to get involved in civil rights activities. I'm still involved. Here it is 40-some years later. And when I got involved with the state, I for 13 years, and the agency is still there, still generating opportunities for minority businesses 40 years later. So you never know what you're able to do until you actually have the opportunity.
Wow. So if you're just joining us, this is Bree from the Minority Men Show. We're here with Mr. Harris, who is our more special guest. MORE stands for Motivating Others Through Real Experiences. And he's been a resident of Randolph for over 40 years. And the way he describes it, it makes me want to find a dream home in Randolph. It's just it's beautiful, and just the impact and the work that he's done. So what I like about your story is that, you know, you got your house, so you could have stopped it there. Once you got through the red tape, you could have stopped it there, but you opened the door for other people, other minorities, and African Americans or and any other race to get into Randolph, and that's why it is where it is today.
I also had the opportunity to become politically involved as well. I was the first person of color to ever be elected to a townwide office in the history of the community, and I served 10 years as a member of the school committee, and I was able to initiate some changes there as well. Currently, I'm involved as the chairman of a community action group called Randolph Community Action Network, in which we're attempting to reach out and engage the minority community in the civic life of Randolph. Because even though our community is extremely diverse, we're made up of so many different ethnicities that we're diverse, but we're not really a cohesive unit. So what we're attempting to do is to get more people engaged in the civic process, so that we have more influence over the decision-making process of the community. Whether it's on the school board or the town council, we're trying to get more people of color elected to those offices. And I'm very excited to say that coming effective in January, there will be a minority school committee in place for the first time in the history of Randolph. And we will be able to really created a school system that is sensitive to the needs of the diverse community, and at the same time look out for the needs of our students. In Randolph is an exceptional community in which 85% of the students are students of color. There's the highest rate of students of color of any school system, I think, in the whole state. And so we want to make sure that those kids are given the proper attention, that there's a concentration on excellence. We're also a system that is on the verge of failure. We're a level 4 system. And we've had people in control of the system. The school committee has been a very dysfunctional school committee over the past 3 years, and has contributed to the demise of the quality of education. So this is going to be an opportunity to turn that around and point it in the right direction.
So, Mr. Harris, I'm always, wondering what inspired you to, outside of just moving to Randolph and just going through the red tape, like Bree said, that you initially had to go through. Outside of that, what inspired you to be more of a community activist, or taking that role to say, you know what, I'm going to do it versus just talking about it? What inspired you to do that?
Well, I think it's the mentor. I think I can attribute my involvement to my mentor, a fellow by the name of Herbert Lycan, who has since passed away. He took me on his wing, and he sort of inspired me based on his role and his activities that he had been involved in the community for quite a while. He inspired me to take an interest in getting involved. And I think that many times role models, and I've had the opportunity to mentor other people and other activists, and that's just a very rewarding experience. And I think that sort of really helped me to sort of want to be really a piece of making this change.
I know Anthony Cook is pretty passionate about the Randolph public school system. So
hey, I'm just listening.
just soaking up the knowledge. Just soaking up the knowledge.
That's it.
Blue?
Yeah, I knew a girl. Her family moved from the inner city of Houston to a suburb called Pearland. It's in the 90s. They were the first black family in that community. And a couple months after they moved there, someone they either took shaving cream or spray paint. They spray painted the N-word across the street right in front of the house, and they broke the window.
What year was this? Was this
in the
recent?
90s?
Oh.
So did anything like this happen to you when you first moved into Randolph, or when you first started becoming active in the community?
It was a way of life.
Yeah.
It was routine. It was a hostile environment. You name it, everything happened that you can imagine. So it inspired, the more obstacles we ran into, the more it inspired me to keep moving forward. Because if you're able, one of the most greatest rewards that a person can have is to be able to inspire others to get involved in your cause, which is a good cause. And over the years that I've been involved with the Randolph Fair Practices, we've had 30, 40, 100 people that have worked with the organization, put their time and effort in, sacrificed their time. And the key thing is being able to lead other people and to encourage other people to follow you. And that's the whole thing. You can replicate yourself through other people. And that's the secret of success, because no one can do anything by themselves. You've got to be able to inspire others to join you and to follow your cause and to participate in your efforts, because it's impossible to do everything by yourself. And I think that's something that I learned that I had the ability to do, was to inspire others to follow me and to work with me and to volunteer their time and effort and sacrifice.
Now, in terms of, say, a young couple moving to Randolph, any suggestion for them in terms of the school system, just the environment, and just make a comparison between, when you moved into today's time?
Well, I think today